Hi, come here. Hey, come here.
All right, so we'll start standing and all right, we'll do a little shake. So separate your feet out to hips width distance. And since we're already standing and setting things up, grab yourself 2 blocks. If you don't have 2 blocks, you can alternate between them, but it might be nice or more convenient to have one for each foot in front of you. But then we'll start with a little shake or a bounce. So set your feet at hips width distance apart. If you're not holding a baby, you can drop your arms and let your arms bounce freely. If you need to hold something, try to let everything else move. So as you bounce, your arms are moving freely. Your breath is moving freely. Let your breath come. And then let your breath go. As you're moving, you might notice that there is a part of you that feels clenchy, like one of your arms is tighter than the other, or it's holding a little higher. Try to let the whole of your body move freely. We'll take 5 more breaths with the shaking. And through the last 5 breaths, set your mind to whatever it was that got you here onto a mat today. At the conclusion of your 5th breath, let that sense of purpose really settle in you as you stand tall and pause. Breathing in and breathing out. Okay. We'll start with the feet on blocks. We'll use the corner to get a little bit of a massaging action into one foot. So you'll have 1 foot back and 1 foot forward onto the corner of a block. You can rock yourself back as you inhale and rock yourself forward as you exhale. And each time you rock back, use your inhale to shift the placement of the block on your foot so you get a slightly different stretch along the back line of the leg and a slightly different bit of pressure on the sole of the foot. Rocking back as you inhale and forward as you exhale. If you're wanting for a little bit more, I want to say oomph, take a longer stance. So the farther away the right foot is from the left, the more weight you can transfer forward and back. Forward and back. We'll take 3 or 4 more of these. If you notice that your hips feel caught or there's a shift in the way your hips are moving, just observe how you're moving along. Try to let there be a soft bend in your front knee, whichever your front knee is. The next time your weight shifts into your back foot, pause and bring your front foot beside your back foot. Let your weight shift from side to side for a moment and just notice any distinctions. No, not everybody was on the same side. So whatever foot was the front foot, the next time you shift your weight into the previous front foot, take your previous back foot forward onto a block. You'll rock forward on your exhale and rock backwards as you inhale, replacing or changing the position of the front foot. Forward and back. Yeah. So you rock back with your inhale, change the position as you exhale, and come forward again. Give ourselves 3 or 4 more just to balance out the other side. And when you feel balance from right to left, you'll shift back into your back leg. Take your front foot so that it's roughly hips width distance beside the back leg, and take a rock again from side to side. Yeah. To keep with our intention of mindfulness, keep your blocks forward. We'll come back to them. But if you have some space, you don't have to be on your mat for this, but I'll demonstrate it on my mat. You can let your weight shift from side to side and start to take a really mindful walk. So your weight shifts into one foot, the other foot gets light, you bring it forward. It's not super interesting when you're 3 months old or 4 months old because you can't walk yet. But for everybody else, you can start to become aware of the sensation or sensitivity that you have in your feet. And you're welcome to walk forward and back a few times. If you find that you're going very fast, slow the motion down and observe how the muscles work differently. Now, if you're working on an ankle injury or a foot injury, for our next bit, you might want to move to a wall so that you have extra support, but you're going to step up onto your 2 blocks. Set your blocks at hips width distance or slightly wider so you have a supportive stance. Yep. And again, if you feel wobbly, set yourself up so that you can hold the wall. And at halfway, just switch which hand is on the wall. So we're alternating what the supports are. Because when we're supporting, we unconsciously lean a little bit. So we just want to make sure we're balancing that stuff out. Well, from here, let the weight come into your right foot and bring your left foot so that the toes of the left foot are on the floor and the left heel is on the block. Yep. We'll take a breath in. With your exhale, bend your right knee. Inhale to neutral, or both knees straight-ish. With your exhale this time, bend your left knee. It will feel funny in your hips, which is kind of the idea. Back up to center, breathe in. With your exhale, bend your right knee. Inhale through center. With your exhale, bend your left knee. Cool. Up through center, breathe in. Bend the right knee. Up through center. And bend the left knee. This time as you come up through center, pause. You can keep with that rocking action, especially if it's challenging. Or you can slide your right foot off the block and just play with the pressure of the block on the back part of the foot. Leaning back and leaning forward. All right, little one. There's a da-da. The transition of weight with the blocks is a nice way to practice walking or transitioning weight, transfer of weight, between asymmetrical places, which is often the case when you're walking around outside. And it helps to feel all the muscles that support the action of moving along not perfectly flat terrain. When you feel complete, you'll slide your left foot or whatever your working foot was back up onto your block and bring your right foot up onto the block at hips width distance apart. It's okay to be slightly wider, but slightly too narrow and you don't really get to feel the transfer of weight in the same way. Pause for a moment, breathe in. And breathe out. All right. Whatever was your back leg a moment ago, let it take the weight. You're going to pick up the foot that was working. So for me, it was the left foot. Just in case we're not on the same side, I'm gonna speak more loosely. There you go. Yep. So the standing foot is on a block. The flying foot is in the air, and you can just move the flying foot in a circle. You can have your hands at your hips. You might need to tap your foot down, that's okay. You can also put your hands on a wall. Now, if you're really looking for strengthening today, take a gentle bend through your standing leg and then come back up. So gentle bend, come back up. We'll do that twice more. So gentle bend, come back up. And set your flying foot down on a block. And let your weight shift from side to side for a moment. Well, the foot that was just flying, let that foot take your weight. And you'll bring your other foot, so in my case, it's my right foot, heel onto the other block. So your hips might be slightly asymmetrical. They might not be. But your second heel will be on the block with the toes on the floor. Take a breath in. And with your exhale, bend your left knee or your back leg, the leg that is fully on the block. Inhale through center. On your exhale, bend the knee with the foot that's not fully on the block. There we go. Inhale through center. Exhale, bend through center. Exhale, bend. We'll take a few of these. So the inhale is at center. The exhale, you're leaning or bending in one knee. Center, bend. If your foot is needing some extra love, you can step the foot that was flat on the block off and perhaps move the other foot on its block slightly forward, keeping the block under the back of the foot. And let your weight come back as you inhale and forward as you exhale. One thing to be mindful of here as you're sort of giving some gentle pressure to the bottom of your foot. We often in yoga say not to let the knee pass the heel. You'll have to, but you still want the knee and the toes to be tracking in the same direction. So as you move your foot around, because my block is moving, it's okay if your body is moving and not oriented in the same direction. So let your breath come and go. Now, if you needed some wall support for the last bit, you'll want to move to the wall again, but this time try to use a different hand for support so that you're slightly favoring the other foot. Even if that means you have to turn away from me, that's okay. But you'll bring both feet back onto your blocks to start. Get tall through the spine and take a breath. With your exhale, you can softly bend in both knees to allow them to be more receptive, but put your weight in your second foot. So in my case, it's my left foot. Stretch out through the left toes and you'll pick up the right knee. But if that's not your second side, let this be your second side. Pause. And you might notice all these places around the pelvis that suddenly turn on differently, and it might be different from the previous side. So I'm noticing a slight torque in my pelvis when I lift this leg. So take a moment and try to find stability first. Breathe in. And you might just stay here with the balance. If you have the ability to balance and move, cool. If not, no problem. If you want to move, give your ankle a little twirl. It's a good motion to check in with yourself. I can isolate this action of twirling my foot, and I can stabilize at the same time. You can tap your foot down at any time if you feel like you're falling. If you're looking to strengthen and create more stability with your standing leg rooted, you have your other leg in the air. You take a gentle bend on the standing knee. And then extend back up. I'm finding it harder on this side. And that's okay. You might find this is your easier side. No problem. Just take a couple of bends and lifts back up. When you're feeling done, You can land both feet on your blocks for a moment and find a steady breath pattern. We will be done with blocks now. You can shift them to the side. We're done with standing on them anyway. Let your weight shift from side to side again, and we'll find a gentle rocking. And this time you might notice that there's activation in different muscles, or you might become aware of different places that are sore from the work that we just did, or might become aware of places that are suddenly more awake and aware than before. And so you're walking forward and back, just observe how you feel. And we'll take one more bout forward and back. Allowing yourself, when you're completing this action, to end at the back of your mat. And there's no rush to get there, take as long as you need. From the back of your mat, separate your feet to hips width distance or slightly wider. Bend in your knees. Sweep your arms up overhead. Take a breath in. And just stand as you exhale. Turn towards me. Root into your feet. Reach up through your arms. You can soften in the knees, but lift your chest up for a moment as if your chest could come towards your hands. If you notice that your back starts to really arc, gently engage the front line so that there's support for your low spine. Take a breath. And with your exhale, bend in your knees, and as if you were handing a beach ball forward, send the beach ball forward, shift your hips back, and slowly fold down. We'll pause here. If you have blocks, that can be a nice way to gently support a lift in your chest that allows the back line of your legs a little bit more ease. With your blocks, if you come gently forward with your chest, you can take some of the pressure off the hamstrings. And then try keeping the chest lifted just to send the hips back an inch or two. Take another inhale here. And an exhale. Okay. One more breath in. With your exhale, bend your knees a lot, palm your way forward into downward dog. Now, if downward dog doesn't work on your wrists, you can put something to elevate the heels of your hands above your fingertips. That should help. If downward dog doesn't work on some part of your body, you can softly bend in the knees. You can deeply bend in the knees. Take whatever support you need. But from your dog, let me move this block so you can see. Take a pedal or a bend of the knees. And if you need to come out of downward dog, you can just tap your knees down and come into table at any time. Because ultimately that's where we're going anyway. So when you're ready, you'll tap the knees down. You can be on fists or flat palms, or you can even set blocks underneath your forearms, but on an inhale, you'll arc through your spine. On your exhale, you'll round through your back line. Take a few arches and roundings. All right. Now come to a neutral spine. Press down through both hands or fists so your back line fills up. Try to press down through the tops of both of your feet, and you can feel some different muscular engagement up your leg and into the center of your body. You'll press down into your hands, press into the tops of your feet, pause for a breath in and a breath out. Now with all of this engagement, we'll use this engagement to see if we can pick up one of the legs of this table. So this is table really rooted down. Try to float your left hand up 1/2 inch or just let it get really light. Breathe in. With your exhale, set your left hand down. Pick up your right knee. Put your right knee down. Take a breath in. And try to pick up your right hand and hover it. So we're still looking for a lot of integration through the legs, through the left arm. Set the right hand down. Press into the hands, press into the feet. Take a breath in. Try to float the left knee up. So you're making a small lift and feeling all the things that have to help stabilize. We'll do this a few more times. Breathe in. And with your exhale, get really light in the left hand. Place the left hand down. Take a breath in. Press through the tops of the feet. Then try to lift the right knee up. Even the top of the foot can stay down. Set the right knee down. Take a breath in. Excuse me. And with your exhale, pick up the right hand. Right hand down, breathe in. Anchor through the tops of the feet, both hands. Try to lift the left knee. Set the left knee down. All right, we'll take a moment's pause here because my hands are getting cranky. And take your hips in a big circle. Now, if you're observing that your wrists are getting tender or your fists are being unhappy after a moment of that, we'll try it again, but this time I'll give the option of being on blocks with the forearms. So you can have your forearms on blocks. Whatever is in contact with the floor is really pressing down. So whether that's your feet, your forearms, some folks can think of it as pressing through the shins, which allows a little bit more integration. Cool. So press down into whatever's touching the floor. We'll take a breath in. This time we'll try to lift the left knee first. Breathe in. With your exhale, set the left knee down. Press into the forearms, press into the feet. Try to hover the right elbow. And it's a micro motion, so you're not leaning all the way to the left. You're just lifting a little. Breathe in. Set the right elbow down. Press down through the forearms, down through the tops of the feet. Try to lift the right knee up. Set the right knee down. Take a breath in. With your exhale, root into your elbows, your feet. Pick up your left arm. We'll do this one more time around through each place with the arms on blocks this time. Take a breath in. And press through all the things and pick up your left knee. Set the left knee down, take a breath in. And press through everything. Pick up the right elbow. Right elbow goes down, breathe in. Pick up the right knee. Right knee goes down, breathe in. Pick up the left elbow. Left elbow down, shift your hips back into child's pose. Now if your arms need extra support in child's pose, you can swing them back by your feet for a little bit more ease here. If your feet need a little bit more support, if you're coming back from a broken foot or ankle, you can slide blocks underneath your bum so there's less weight down. But whatever you put underneath your feet, you'll probably need underneath your bum, I should say. You'll need underneath your chest as well. Otherwise, you might not feel that supported. Wherever you are, take a breath in and then a breath out. When you feel complete, you'll come up to stand, or to sit, I should say, back towards your heels with your knees forward. Now take a moment to get any extra props and support that you want for this, because we'll be coming in and out of this position a few times. So that might mean blocks between your heels. That might mean more blocks than you think between your heels. Totally fine. That might mean spreading out or rolling out a blanket underneath your knees. But make sure you're able to get some uprightness through the spine wherever you happen to sit. And take a breath in and a breath out. I'm going to turn and face you guys so that you'll be able to see where we're headed. All right, so here we are. On an inhale, take both arms up. On your exhale, set your left hand down. You can put it on your hip or on the floor if the floor is readily accessible. Breathe in and reach up. And with your exhale, you'll lean the right arm overhead. Notice if your right shoulder and upper arm start to collapse towards your ear, and try to create some space there. So that means rolling the shoulder blade back, probably letting the upper arm bone move away from your ear. Come back to center as you breathe in, take both arms up. And before we switch sides, hook your thumbs, press them into one another. Let the right thumb be in back. Take a breath in. With your exhale, keeping that press in the thumb, slowly bend the elbows out to the side. And come back up as you breathe in, separate the hands. With your exhale, let your right hand drop, so to your hip, towards maybe just the area near the floor. Breathe in with the left arm lifting. And with your exhale, lean the left arm overhead. try to make space for your neck by moving the shoulder blade down and keeping the left upper arm bone away from the ear. Breathe in and out. Inhale, both arms up. This time, the left thumb is in back. Press your thumbs into one another. Lift your chest up. Look at your hands. Breathe in. With your exhale, keep pressing, but bend the elbows out to the side. Press through the tops of your feet. With your inhale, separate the hands. Lift up so that you're kneeling on your knees. And the tops of your feet are rooted, but your hips are over your knees. Yep. Take a deep breath in. And with your exhale, you can keep your hands lifted if that feels okay, or interlace your hands behind your head. Press through the tops of the feet. Send the hips forward. Hug your elbows in. And breathe in. We'll keep thinking about lifting the elbows. Lifting the rib cage. And breathe in. And you might start to feel a sense of shaking in the upper abdominals. These muscles are turning on to stabilize you. Press through the tops of the feet. And your legs can gently hug in to help stabilize as well. Breathe in. And breathe out. One more inhale. With your exhale, you'll start to bring your head over the shoulders, over the hips. Inhale your arms up. Slowly sit back towards whatever support is under your bum. Take a breath in. And a breath out. We'll do that one more time. Anchor through the tops of your feet. Inhale, your arms up, your hips up. With your exhale, bring your hands behind your head. Hug your elbows in. So the interlace, as if your head were supporting your head in a hammock. Yep, cool. Now you can stay here. If you have blocks between your heels, one thing you can do is actually press into the blocks between your heels, and that can add some stability from the legs. You'll hug your elbows in, reach the elbows up, and gently shift your pelvic bone forward. Breathe in. And breathe out. Low ribs draw in, take a deep breath in. And a full breath out. Okay. Inhale to come up to stack, shoulders over hips over knees. Take your arms up. Pause, take another breath in. With your exhale, you'll slowly lower hips to heels. Okay. Our next shape will be a supported variation of fish. And there are a couple of options here. You can take Stairway to Heaven if you prefer that with the ramp and just bliss yourself out, which sounds lovely. But you're also welcome to take a more traditional iteration of fish with the chest as the high point. And I'll show you both versions. So option one, the ramp that I mentioned. Well, depending on what you're using as a bolster, it might be okay to just have one block underneath the top part of the bolster to create this ramp shape. My bolster is really firm. If you have a softer bolster, you'll want something to catch your chest and something to correspond with your head. And then you'll be leaning back over it. Now, that's all well and good. You can take ramp shape for Stairway to Heaven. But you can also set up fish with your chest lifted by a bolster or a block and your head supported but below the line of your chest. If you're feeling like there's not enough support under your head, just add a block. If you're feeling unsupported or caught, you can move away from walls, you can add height. Give yourself permission for this to feel comfortable, restorative. Now, I didn't talk about the feet yet. A couple of options for the feet. You can have your feet on the floor and let your knees knock together. That's a great variation, especially if there's sensitivity in your pelvis or low spine. If it feels, excuse me, good, you're always welcome to take a butterfly here. But for some, this feels like too much. And if it feels like too much, just be really honest with yourself. That's not a good choice for me right now. Okay, I'll make a different one. As we're here, feel your breath as it expands across your chest. And with an exhale, you can observe the way your body releases into the support of your props. Now, if you're in a ramp shape, you might stay here for another few minutes. It's a very peaceful place to be. If you're feeling complete with this chest opening fish variation, press down into your elbows. Bring the soles of your feet to the floor if they're not already there. Then you can lift up by pressing down and then take your hands to your thighs and sit up the rest of the way. We'll move some of these things out of the way. So coming back onto your back, but this time without anything behind you. If you have a bolster or a block, you can put it underneath your hips. For a variation of supported bridge. You can stay still with the shoulders rooted down onto the floor now, which can feel like a nice counter to the shape we were just in. You might need to take your hair down if it was up, because it can get caught in the way here. You want your neck to feel long and comfortable. You can stay still with the bolster underneath you, or experiment with extending one leg out. Take 5 to 8 breaths with one leg out and then switch sides. If you are doing one leg at a time and you haven't yet switched sides, switch sides. When you feel balanced from right to left with the extended legs, you can pause with both feet flat on the floor. You have the option to stay here for another moment or two, or you can extend both legs up. You might need to adjust the placement of whatever is underneath you. And you always have the option to take easy inversion at the wall if there's wall space nearby. Allow your heels to be roughly over your hips. It might feel nice to twirl your feet, but it might feel nice to be perfectly still. Excuse me. And take a breath in and a breath out. This pose will run its course over a different span of time for most people. That will be usually between 10 breaths and 2 minutes. When it feels done, you'll bend your knees. You can bring them in towards you and press whatever was underneath you out and slide, if it's a bolster, underneath your bum or underneath your thighs. Extend your legs out and let yourself come straight into Shavasana or final rest. If you need any extra support or changes for final resting pose, if you're finding that you're suddenly cold, you can get another blanket for yourself. Close your eyes or cover them. And feel yourself release into the support that you have over the next couple of breaths. The supports that will hold you through this final pose. Let your breath come and go. take a breath in and then a breath out. And let your breath come in and your breath go out. As your breath brings you back into your body, start to find little movements. Maybe you let your head gently roll from side to side. Maybe there's a full body stretch and reach. Arms overhead, legs long. Let your breath come in. And go out. You'll bring the soles of your feet to the floor and use your feet to roll you to your side. Pausing in a resting shape. When it's time, use your hands to bring you up to a comfortable seat. Bring your hands to a part of your body that needs a gentle reassurance, a gentle reminder that everything will be okay, or that everything is okay. Take a breath in and a breath out. Allowing these next few breaths to act as reassurance for the mind and body. To close our time together, if you can, bring your palms together at center chest. We'll take a gentle bow to one another. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings know peace. Thank you all so much for sharing practice.